Hello there, ladies and gents. Today I wanted to give you an update on my thoughts on WandaVision because a crap ton of you kept yelling at me in the comments to finish the show. And you know what? That's pretty fair. So for now, I'm at episode 5 or 6, and I'll make another video when the show wraps up. Now, the purpose of this video is twofold. First is to answer some questions from the previous video, and the second is to get to the actual review of the recent episodes. Just skip like 5 minutes to get to the actual show. Now, I am sick at the moment, so sorry if my voice annoys you, but it is what it is. The first issue I wanted to address is Wanda and Vision's relationship. In the video, I said that their relationship is based on nothing because all we see of them is flirting for 2 seconds in Civil War. Now, people took this line very seriously for some reason, even though it was obviously a joke, something that apparently doesn't exist anymore. I mean, I've seen Infinity War more than once, mind you, where Wanda and Vision just hold hands for 2 seconds and then Vision gets stabbed like a bitch. Oh, I'll go get so much hate for this. No, but in all seriousness, the reason that the relationship bothers me so much is because we don't actually see its development, like, at all. We're told in Infinity War that they've been dating for 2 years, but we don't actually see any of it. All we see is the aftermath. And that just isn't enough to get me invested in their relationship. But, you know, at least they're not the worst couple. You guys remember when Captain America was trying to bang his girlfriend's niece? That was hella weird. The second thing that I wanted to address was the humor and the overall aesthetic of the show. I called the humor of the show cringy and dull, and I still kind of hold that opinion. And that's all it is, just my opinion. If you like it, then you know what? Good for you. It's just not my cup of tea. And it's not because I don't get the humor or because I'm too stupid to understand the humor of the time, because I still watch shows from that time. For example, I Love Lucy and Abbott Costello are, really funny and entertaining shows. But for some reason, I just don't find WandaVision humorous at all. Maybe it's the show's fault, maybe it's mine. Who knows? Another thing I wanted to address is the pacing of the first 3 episodes, because I still think that it's still kind of terrible, and to me it just feels like filler. And I know that's gonna make a lot of people mad, but that's just the way I feel. Episode 4 is when the show finally gets started and becomes intriguing, but before that it's just sitcom nonsense with some Easter eggs thrown in here and there, which I did notice, but you can't really make a show based off of just Easter eggs. Also, a lot of people seem to think that the reason I don't like the show is because it doesn't have any action, which is just not the case. A lot of shows and movies that have action are terrible and unwatchable, like the Taken franchise, for example. And other TV shows that don't have any action can also be enjoyable, like Friends, for example. I find that show to be humorous and entertaining. The first 3 episodes of WandaVision I find to be very dull, slow-moving, unfunny, and ultimately filler. But enough about that. Let's talk about the new episodes of WandaVision. In episode 3, Wanda spends like 80% of the runtime either pregnant or giving birth with the assistance of the Doctor and Geraldine, her black friend. And of course, there's weird stuff happening throughout the episode, like Vision's neighbor cutting the fence, or whenever something weird happens, people either ignore it or Wanda just presses the rewind button. Also, what I couldn't understand is that if Vision can turn intangible, why didn't he just pull the babies out to assist with the birth? But whatever. This whole baby subplot is just weird and confusing. I don't understand how any of this works. All the interesting stuff happens at the end anyway. Vision's neighbors start acting shifty, but before Vision can figure out why they being hella shifty, they proceed to shift the conversation. Wanda, meanwhile, is reminiscing about her dead brother, who got killed by Ultron, and her dumbass Eastern European accent comes back for some reason. But then the black lady let it slip that Ultron killed her brother, and it's also revealed that she works for SWORD, a organization like S.H.I.E.L.D., I guess. And here is where I kind of lost it, because the black lady is wearing a necklace with the sword symbol on it. What the hell? And Wanda notices that, and she's just like, what the hell? That's like James Bond if he just wore MI6 on her shirt. Like, what kind of stupid ass agent are you? I kind of lost it at that point. That's the best joke the show has made so far. I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, because the black lady pissed her off, Wanda decides to like throw her ass out of Wanda Town. And yeah, that's basically the end of episode 3. Overall, I still think that the humor is kind of cringy, not gonna lie, but at least the plot moved kind of in the last 2 minutes of the episode, so that's something. So the black woman from episode 3, her name is Monica Rambeau, and she is the daughter of Captain Marvel's friend from that movie, the pilot. Anyway, Monica died with the Thanos snap, but came back to find that her mother died from cancer. Monica goes back to SWORD where she worked, and her boss assigns her the Wanda case because reasons. I don't know. Monica meets up with that one Asian dude from Ant-Man and the Wasp who can do magic now, and he says that Westview is a missing town because no one remembers either the town or the residents of that town. So Monica uses a helicopter to do surveillance, but it disappears, and so does she, because she decided to touch a force field and didn't think that it would have any adverse effect. I'm starting to think she doesn't understand how this agent thing works. Anyway, then 24 hours later, the annoying chick from the Thor movie shows up, so they're just bringing in all of the minor characters from literally the worst Marvel movies. I wonder why. So anyway, she figures out that you can only see inside of the Wanda town with an old TV. Meanwhile, Source sends a dude in a radiation suit, which is what Wanda saw as the beekeeper, I guess. So time moves differently inside of WandaVision, I think, because they send in the dude like 24 hours after the helicopter, but in Wanda town we saw the helicopter, and then right after we saw the beekeeper suit. So does time move differently in WandaVision? I don't know. It's kind of weird and confusing. I don't know. So Wu tries speaking on the radio, trying to communicate. And I guess that was him throughout the 3 episodes, trying to communicate with Wanda the whole time. The episode ends with Wanda throwing out Monica out of her reality, and then we see Vision walking around with his dead, zombified ass. And apparently Wanda is using her powers to control him like a marionette. At least that's the conclusion I have come to. So what do I think about this episode? Well, I liked it a lot better than friggin' the last 3, honestly. It's a lot more intriguing. We finally set up the whole mystery thing. And there wasn't any cringy ass jokes, so I guess it's an improvement. The only real person I didn't like in this episode was probably the chick from the Thor movies, because I still find her annoying as hell. Even in the Thor movies, I didn't really like her. She was just sort of there as a background character. But at least she did something useful in this episode, so I guess that's something. So anyway, it's on to episode 5, which is set in the 80s for some reason. I don't really understand this whole decade hopping thing. It doesn't really add anything except for maybe aesthetic and different clothes and stuff like that. But other than that, it's just a background thing, and I just don't really understand why, but whatever. Anyway, the twins are crying because, you know, they are literal babies. So Wanda's friend comes over to help, but she flubs her lines a little bit, which freaks the hell out of Vision and confuses Wanda. And I know that they're part of a sitcom, but I thought that it would run more smoothly because, I don't know, it's supposed to be like a show, but she flubs her lines. And I don't really understand how this production even works, because Wanda's supposed to control everything anyway, so it's just confusing and I don't understand. Maybe we'll get an answer later, hopefully, but for now it was a weird moment. Anyway, then the babies decide to grow up to like 10 years old, and or 5 years old, and so are they sentient or alive? Are they even her kids? Did she create them? I have a lot of questions about these kids, and none of them have been answered yet. Are they even alive when the show ends? Are they still gonna be alive? It's just, I know in the comics she created her own kids, but is that the same thing what she's doing now? I don't know. I'm more confused than anything, honestly. Then Monica wakes up and her vitals are weird, but she's like, whatevs, and goes to the briefing where the main dude calls Wanda a terrorist, and I kind of tend to agree with the mans, because she did break into a government facility and steal Vision's corpse. Then she put him back together and is using him as a marionette, I think. and she's also keeping thousands of people kidnapped. So, kind of a dick move on Wanda's part. So apparently Wanda's kids also have powers because they're whining about not having a dog, and then they decided to grow up to be like 10 years old in like 2 seconds. Honestly, I don't know what's going on with these kids. They are confusing as hell, and I don't really know what their role is in the whole overall story. They're just sort of there for some reason. Also, it turns out that Wanda's not actually casting illusions. She's actually rewriting reality, and the characters figured this out because Monica has bulletproof pants or something like that. That's the explanation that we're going with, is the fact that she's actually rewriting reality because bulletproof pants. And as I'm saying this, I just feel stupid. So anyway, Vision goes to work on a Saturday and then proceeds to fry a dude's brain, which turns him back to normal, which means that Wanda is literally controlling all the residents while they are aware. So she is basically the villain of her own story, is what I'm getting at. Later on, S.W.O.R.D. uses a drone made in the 1980s, which was apparently a thing that we didn't know about that they could do. And they fly the drone inside of WandaVision town, and then almost proceed to shoot Wanda in the face with a rocket, but she ain't having none of that crap, so she proceeds to break it, and then goes outside of the wall, and she warns all the agents, hey, leave me alone, or I'ma do something, maybe, which for some reason she doesn't. And then the agents have like 30 guns pointed at her, but they don't proceed to shoot her in the face for some reason, even though they probably should, because she's kind of being hella villainous for no reason. And anyway, she then proceeds to do something with the force field. I think she's reinforcing it, but we'll see. So anyway, then the dog dies, and Wanda gives her kids a speech about, that dead thing should stay dead. But she doesn't take that advice because, as established before, she's carrying around Vision's corpse like a marionette. And then Vision comes home and decides to call her out on her crap, but their squabble gets interrupted because the doorbell rings, and it's Quicksilver from the X-Men movies. So, honestly don't know what to do with that information. Are they fusing the two franchises together? I don't know. We'll see what happens. And even if they do fuse the two realities together, that still doesn't make any sense. Because if this is the new Quicksilver, what happened to the old one? Is he just didn't exist at all? I don't know. I have so many questions with no answers, and we'll see. Also, another funny thing that I noticed was that whenever Wanda and Vision start to have a fight, they always start flying like 2 feet off the ground at each other, and it just looks friggin' hilarious. I don't know why they keep doing that, but it just looks funny to me. Another cool thing that I noticed in this episode was whenever they would switch between Wanda Town and the real world, they would switch aspect ratios. And I don't know, that was a cool detail that I noticed. I'm actually trying to be nice for once. Don't kill me. So throughout this whole review, I've been trying to be nice. I've been trying not to be a dick, but there's still some stuff that bothers me, and I'm sorry, but this is not a perfect show. This is not even the best show. The best Marvel show, I would say, is probably Daredevil. And then after that, maybe Jessica Jones. But this is somewhere in the middle. It's still better than Iron Fist and the other one, which I can't remember right now. So it's kind of in the middle. It's not the greatest, but it's not the worst either, in my opinion. I still think that everything that has to do with the sitcom concept is still crappy, and I still don't find the jokes very humorous. I don't know. I don't find it entertaining at all, but the real world stuff is better, and Vision coming to the realization that he is dead could be a cool concept to see in the future, but I still think that Marvel are taking it really slow and kind of wish that they would get to the point already. I still think that the first 3 episodes of WandaVision are terrible, with episode 4 being like the highlight of the season so far, and the enjoyment of the show going up overall for me personally. But would I classify this as a good show? Personally, no. At least not yet, because the first 3 episodes are kind of bad, so I can't classify it as a favorite, because at this point I didn't enjoy the majority of the time watching the show. I do genuinely hope that the show ends with a bang, but we shall see. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and see you at the end of the show.